All right, so it's been a while, so um, didn't have the time to do it in the day, but tonight we're going to be doing some fret work. And again, this is for my build for Jurg's Cup, the second iteration. So, you know, I'm, I like I did a nice glossy job on the headstock, as well as the neck. Um, you can see that right now I've taped up my fretboard. Nothing special here. It's why I'm not showing it. You just put painter's tape over the fretboard. Yeah, the reason you want to do this is because not like it does. It's not always guaranteed that you're going to have you know level frets. And so this is just a good way to get it taken care of. Hoping that tonight is not. I'm not going to be spending too much time on it. But yeah, this is the last bit before I move on to adding the hardware onto here. Um, so, so yeah, first things first, we want to make sure that the neck is completely flattened out, so we know what we're doing. And that I'm gonna have my notch straight edge here. Okay, so what you see me doing here is I am making sure that the neck is perfectly straight using the notch straight edge. What you do is you want to line up the frets with the little grooves that are in the notch straight edge, and then you just lay it across the neck of the guitar. And if there's no space between the neck and the notch straight edge, that means the neck is perfectly straight. And the reason you want to do this is you want to have an even playing field when you go to the next part of leveling and crowning the frets, like what you see me doing here. I'm taking a fret rocker and laying it across 3 frets at a time, and if I'm getting a little rocking, I just mark that off because that means that the fret is high, or that the middle fret is high. And yeah, as you can see, the higher up you go on the neck, the closer together the frets become. And that's why the fret rocker has all those different sides. It's to accommodate for the spacing between the frets. So yeah, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your neck is perfectly straight, and will affect playability of the guitar. If you have a high fret, it's going to cause some buzzing issues. It's going to cause some dead strings when you're trying to play, and that's just not fun. Yeah, and I'm just marking off the high frets with a Sharpie. I'm not too worried about it because it's gonna come off. As you can see, I now have a sanding block, and I'm running the coarsest edge of the sanding block along the neck of the guitar. That's actually why I taped up the neck, to protect what I just worked on from getting dirty with metal dust. Yeah, and I'm just running the sanding block along the neck of the guitar, and just going back and forth every once in a while with the fret rocker to see if the frets are level. If not, I'll mark it again and just look for where I need to sand again. And you're not looking to take the Sharpie off completely, but you do want a nice metal line going down the center of the fret. Yeah, and in some cases, I'm taking out my fret file here. I got it from Baroque, and well, Baroque is the manufacturer, but this actually came at a recommendation from Dan Thompson. He recommended this particular fret file to his viewers because number one, it's pretty cheap. Two, three of the sides accommodate for different size of frets, and then the fourth side is just perfectly flat, so you can level out the fret. Yeah, just having these makes a world of difference. If you don't have one, if you don't have a sanding beam, check out Dan Thompson's videos. He actually has a set of videos as to what you can do if you don't have this specialized equipment, and it works pretty well. Like, I actually made a notch straight edge when I was building my base. Yeah, this step can get a little maddening at times. Yeah, and I go again with the sanding block. And of course I have to take some pictures for vanity purposes. Well, not really vanity purposes, I'm just doing this so I can post it later on for my progress pictures. Now I'm just wiping down the fretboard, and as you can see, I'm starting to mark up all the frets this time because I've leveled the frets. Now it's time to crown them. So what that is when you level the frets, you give them a flat top, and now it's time to make the frets dome shaped again. And this is where that fret file that I was using earlier comes in handy. You're about to see what I mean. Yeah, I'm just looking to see which groove is best for my for my guitar. And I found one, and yeah, this time I'm not looking to sand the center down. What I want to see is just a thin colored line going down the middle of the fret. Yeah, and I don't know how well the camera is picking it up, but I can see that some of the Sharpie is fading away from the fret. Alright, and I'm checking my work again with the fret rocker, you know. Just want to make sure that that you have everything as it should be. And I'm just going over and correcting my mistakes. Alright, and now I am going to move on to polishing the frets. You want to do this because when you're bending and doing vibratos, if your frets aren't smoothly polished, like the string runs the risk of getting snagged. And I'm actually, again, doing a trick that I learned from Dan Thompson from Guns and Guitars. And it's just basically just go at the frets with a polishing compound. Difference is I'm using a few different grades here. And by the way, I'm also speeding this video up by quite a good bit. It's just for the purposes of making the video shorter for watch purposes. It does not take a total of half an hour to do this. This was a pretty lengthy process. And as you can see, I'm wiping down the frets in between polishing, and I will then replace the polishing wheel and the compound so that I can move on to so that I can properly polish the frets. Yeah, I bought a huge supply because I knew I was gonna want to try this method. Yeah, and as you can see, that polishing compound, like, it dirties the wheel pretty quickly. Yeah, and I have a funny way of holding it, and that's just because I don't want any of the polishing compound getting on me, like getting on my skin or anything like that. So just holding it the way I was just a safety precaution. Okay, and I wipe down the fretboard again. And it might look like I'm getting impatient, but I'm really not. The reason I go at multiple frets towards the bottom of the fret, or towards the part of the neck where the frets are close together, it's just that my hands are pretty big and the frets are just so close together that I'm gonna end up polishing more than one fret anyway. Okay, and I'm onto the final polishing compound. Yeah, and this is another good reason to tape up your neck, because it's this stuff is going to get everywhere, and you don't want it ruining your finish. Yeah, and that is it. I have finished polishing the frets after leveling and crowning them. I'm just wiping away any residue with a shop towel. And now it's time to take off the tape. Yeah, just a heads up. When you're gonna tape up your neck like that, use painter's tape. I use painter's tape here, and the reason you want that is it won't leave any sticky residue on the finish you just worked so hard to apply and then smooth out. Yep, and there you have it. Polished up frets and yeah, just leveled, crowned, and polished frets, and yeah, doing one final measure. And everything looks good. Okay, and here is me working on the hardware. I made a template of what I wanted on the truss rod cover, and it's nothing special. It just says OD Guitars. It's my initial, and yeah, I have a fan on, which is why you have my hair blowing in the wind the way it is. And again, metal dust, don't want that in my eye, so yeah, wearing goggles. And sorry I couldn't get a closer view, I don't have the equipment for that. I'm just going at this with a rotary tool, with an engraving bit. It's a pretty soft metal, so it's not that difficult to do. And as you can see, yeah, I wrote in OD Guitars, and at this point I'm just doing a second pass at this. Yeah, I feel like it's important to mention here. Please be careful when you're doing this. You don't want your hands so close to the fast-moving engraving bit. I'm actually being really careful. This is sped up, so I'm actually really going slow and taking my time with this so I don't have any mishaps. And every once in a while I'm just taking some time to adjust where the rotary tool is, because at some points during this I was just feeling a tug at the flex shaft kit, so it was pulling my arm in a certain direction. And that's it for engraving the truss rod cover. Now it's time to do a different piece. I'm not going to be engraving, but I am going to be installing the tuners. Nothing real special here. These are Geiger locking tuners. Yeah, as you can see, I'm installing the tuners, and the reason for that is I'm just gonna mark off where I need to drill. Yeah, and just tighten them down with a socket wrench bit. Yeah, and what you can see me doing is I'm about to measure the drill bit against the screw that goes to fasten the locking tuners, and that's just so I know where to stop drilling. At some point, I was just having some difficulty where, like, trying to figure out how to get the drill into those small spaces, but you know. So I thought I could use the drill bit of the rotary tool. Almost worked, but not really. Still ran into the same issues. And actually, it was a little more difficult with the rotary tool because the rotary tool was actually causing the locking mechanism of the locking tuner to spin. So at this point, I just got it in my head, look, it's not gonna happen, dude. So what I did there is I just marked off where the holes are gonna go, and then I just drilled it like that, and it worked out. Yeah, to be fair, sometimes these are just trial and error. And now that I figured out what works, it's time to do the same thing for the rest of them. And as you can see, I'm not drilling all the way through the headstock of the guitar. Yep, drop something. Now, time to pick it up and get back to installing the tuners. Yeah, and these are some very small screws, so I planned ahead and bought myself some spare parts, some spare screws off Amazon, just in case I lost the screws, which luckily I didn't do here. Yep, and those are the tuners. Next up, I'm going to be installing the nut of the guitar after I take some pictures. And I needed the nut of the guitar to be there, so I had a reference for the truss rod cover. And yeah, I was taking some sandpaper to the nut slot of the guitar because there was some stuff. There might have been some of the clear coat that got in there, which would affect tuning stability. So yeah, now that I have my reference point and I have my truss rod cover where I want, it's time to install the screws. And I don't need the nut piece there anymore. Yeah, and that's it. I left the nut where it is just because it's being held in place between the start of the fretboard and the truss rod cover, so, no worries there about it falling off or getting lost or anything like that.